Okay, let's go ahead and get to my monologue. There's nothing like election night in America. Every year, I genuinely love it. After all the talking, the gaslighting, the money, the actual people show up and show Washington just how full of it that they actually are. Tuesday night did not disappoint, obviously with Glenn Youngkin's win in the Virginia governor's race, but a near tie for Republicans in New Jersey as well, with massive sweeps in more suburban districts like Nassau County in New York State. Now, obviously, the right is ebullient. This is probably their best night nationally since election night 2016. And already the battle for the narrative as to why Republicans won so big is on. The general consensus, as far as I can tell, within the right is this: it's the culture war, stupid. In this telling, Glenn Youngkin's relentless pursuit against critical race theory in Virginia schools was what pushed him over the edge, drove out Trump voters, and won back suburban voters. And there's something to this, but it's important to parse it deeply to figure out which and what exact culture war is being fought. A particular thread that I found very useful was this by Stephen Portnoy of CBS News, breaking down the exit polls issue by issue. Number 1, should Confederate monuments be taken down? 54% said no, 40% said yes. On abortion, 60% said it should be legal, while 37% said it should be illegal. How much should parents have a say in schools? More than 80% said either some or a lot. Requiring vaccine mandates for employers, it was 54 for, 42 oppose, and 84% of the electorate in Virginia was vaccinated. Now, pretty confusing stuff, right? The biggest problem that our media and our national discourse has is they don't really understand that the culture war changed some time ago. Guns, abortion, and gay marriage, that is so yesterday. As you can see in the Confederate monuments question and what people have to say around having parents to have a say in education, the new culture war, which benefits the right, has big majorities, and its majority lies under a theme of pushing back against political correctness by the activist, culturally left higher elite. Now, my friends on the right who are so ecstatic about the results in Virginia would be fools to think that this is some referendum on social conservatism, or at least social conservatism as it was previously understood. It really has nothing to do with that. Instead, the culture war of today is simply this: do you like the general social norms of around 2014 or not? My friend Michael Brennan Doherty of National Review, he's been on the show before. He put this very well, quote, "Republican culture war politics work way better when they are a defense of normal people versus ideologues. They don't work as let's make America more evangelical." I would add Catholic to that list too. And I would also go deeper. Remember, Virginia is not the only state that was big for Republicans. Joe Biden won New Jersey by 16 points, and it looks like even if the Democrat there does prevail, it will only be by few tenths of 1%. New Jersey did not have a hyper-nationalized race around critical race theory. This is simply a revolt against the elites in all forms. Culture, of course, but a deeper indictment of the expert class. Here again, it is important to parse the nuance. The New Jersey race shows that the electorate at large is simply sick of COVID restrictions. It is sick of chaos, and rightfully blame Biden, because he said he would take us back to normal, and he simply hasn't. He rarely, if ever, appears to be tackling the downstream effects of chaos like the supply chain crisis or gas prices, and is instead focusing on passing a bill that pretty much nobody in America cares about whatsoever. Now look at this. More and more, I am convinced of a theory of politics and of conservatism that I put forward months ago. This week's election was a victory for barstool conservatism. Now I know people's eyes are rolling, but hear me out. Matthew Walther, in that original piece on the subject, observed of Trump's success that he, quote, "recognized there are millions of Americans who do not oppose or even care about abortion or same-sex marriage, much less stem cell research or any of the other causes that animated traditional conservatives." He continued, quote, "Instead, he correctly intuited that the new culture war would be fought over very different and more nebulous issues: vague concerns about political correctness and SJWs, opposition to the popularization of so-called critical race theory, sentimentality about the American flag and the military. Add into that the original barstool pushback against lockdowns, general distrust of public health elite like Dr. Fauci, and you have an exact roadmap as to why this election went the way that it did. But as I warned in my original Barstool monologue, don't be too thrilled. While the era of socially liberal, fiscally conservative is over, it's far more likely that socially conservative, at least in the new culture war sense that we've gone over, pairs pretty well with fiscal conservatism. That's the preferences of the suburban voters that went to the Democrats in 2020, and it will once again be the electoral justification for pretty much the inherent donor preference within the Republican Party today. While yes, this will remain at odds with the economic interests of many of the rural and working class voters who find themselves voting Republican today, the contradiction doesn't mean anything at all, as long as they rightfully distrust the intentions of a group of people that they want to change the way they speak, rule the way that they behave in their day-to-day lives, and sign the country up for a social project nobody has any interest in participating in. Just frickin' be normal. That's the battle cry of today's politics. Whoever comes closer to that maxim will win. Joe Biden was closer to normal in 2020. That's why he won. The GOP today, by simply being opposed to the mentally ill professors and public health bureaucrats, is closer to that right now. Whomever is closer to that in 2024 will win too. And I'm starting to think that person's name is probably not Joe Biden. It's amazing, isn't it, Marshall? That normalcy as nebulous.
Hey guys, thanks so much for watching.
That's right. Just as a reminder, you can become a premium subscriber today. Watch the full show completely uncut, our reactions to each other's monologues. You get to listen to it. You get to ask us questions, all that good stuff. Link is right there in the description or at breakingpoints.com.
Best of all, great way to say screw you to the mainstream media.